as thunder follows lightning when lightning strikes, so giving follows grace. I wish we had time to look at 2 Corinthians chapter 8, where again and again the word grace is used, and God's grace has so touched us that it has erupted up into giving. Jim Elliot said, "He is no fool who gives what he cannot keep to gain what he cannot lose." Now, sometimes people think of that, well, oh yeah, Jim Elliot, he was just this super spiritual missionary guy who said this thing. But, real people don't think that way. Well, actually, what Jim Elliot was talking about was gain. Jim Elliot was talking about coming out ahead. And we think, well, wait a minute, wasn't he talking about sacrifice? Sure, he is no fool who gives what he cannot keep. Well, you can't keep it anyway, right? You can't take it with you. You can't keep it. Who gives what he cannot keep to gain what he cannot lose. That's like what Jesus is saying, treasures in heaven. So really, the treasure principle, which is what I'm talking about, and I think you're going to get a copy of that book and a copy of a little book on heaven that's sort of a Reader's Digest version of my bigger book on heaven that some of you are familiar with. But it has to do with laying up treasures in heaven, and the treasure principle that Jesus is talking about essentially is this. No, you can't take it with you, but I've got really great news for you. You can send it on ahead, so it will be waiting for you in heaven. So if you think about living the smart life now, the smart life is looking out for the good of other people. It's taking all this stuff God has entrusted to us and saying, what can I do with what God has entrusted to me? Notice I didn't say what God has given to me. Why? Because 100% of it belongs to God. Not 10% of it. 100%.